Okay, David. BAC V RR. Hey, welcome back. Hey, this is my little Let's Get Real series, and in this series, or this little video, I'm going to demonstrate just a simple little setup. We got to set out 2 auto racks here at East Oakland. This train came out of Roseville, and this train is going to go down the coast down to LA. But set out a couple auto racks here at East Oakland. They're going to get put on another train. Dispatcher is aware of our move here. Coming into Fruitvale here, we got an approach. An approach is a proceed indication. So we're going to pull on up here. And what would happen is drop off the conductor here. We're going to drop him off about this point because in this area we're going to make the cut. I got to go grab a conductor. Hang on. Okay, so we dropped off Mr. Loeb there. First name is Micah. And then the engineer, he's going to pull up here. He's going to take that signal. It's like Michelob's kind of scratching his head there. Okay, so we take that signal here. And we're going to pull up here. And I'll show you the rest of the train where those auto racks are at. How many cars back is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 10 cars back. So here's our 2 auto racks. So we're just going to do a simple set out here, but we got to work with the control point. We got to work with the dispatcher here in East Oakland. So usually the conductor, he just says, hey, you got another 6, 7 more cars to go, and just tell the engineer how many more cars until he wants the engineer to stop as far as where he wants to make the cut. Now you don't want to grab my throttle here. You don't want to grab, oh, sorry about that. Slow down. You don't leave the cars in the control point, so you want to make the cut outside of the control point. Otherwise, dispatcher can't throw the switch. And well, if you do end up doing that, that means you got to call dispatch. You get authority to take the power off the switch, take it a hand throw. So it's just you don't even want to go that route. That's not the way you do things too. So pull on up here, and he goes, okay, that'll do there, Daylight Dave. So we stop. He's going to make the cut here. So before he makes the cut there, and we've already made the cut, but he tied some handbrakes. You got to tie handbrakes. And we had paperwork as far as how many handbrakes had to be tied on what territory. If this is a steeper grade, you got to tie a lot more handbrakes. But here it's fairly flat, so I think it was minimum of 3, but you did have to tie some handbrakes. So anyway, so the conductor, the brakeman, or whoever, he just ride the rear here, and we got to pull all the way through the control point here and clear it. And of course we're working on an approach, but we got plenty of room. And of course I'll show you, spin around here, show you the next signal. That's my next signal there at CP40 at Fremont, so that's red. Anyway, so we'll clear this. And like I said, if the conductor's riding the rear, we're just going to tell you to go all the way up here. And then I'll just say, okay, that'll do. That's all you got to do is clear. Usually you want to pull up. If you stop right underneath the bridge, then you can't see the darn signal. And I've been in that position where you have to look straight up or walk back, look at the signal. So you kind of stop it, and like I said, dispatcher knows what's going on, and you're going to make the move. So just kind of wait for the signal. If you don't get a signal, like in less than more than a few minutes, then you just call them up. Okay, so we got a signal, and the reason it's restricting because there's a train ahead here. So if I'm kind of show you up here, there's actually an auto train ahead, but we're going to set out those 2 cars here up against that boxcar there, a couple trucks over, about 2 trucks over in the yard. Okay, so we shove on back here. We just go nice and easy, restricted speed. And look in the other direction there. Another thing I forgot to mention is, when you're shoving back, conductor will say, hey, 4-door crossing, 3-door crossing, and then all of a sudden, he'll say, okay, crossing's clear, come on back. So it always protects the crossing, the road crossings. So we'll stop here, get this switch, get the cross over here. So another rule is you got to get both switches across over there. Always have to be lined together. You can't just leave one open and the other one closed. They always got to be lined correct. So we're good. We'll shove them back here. Looking good this direction. They got an empty coal train. He's sitting out here too underneath the overpass. You know, that was real common in the old days where you'd park underneath the overpasses, and it's still common. And I think the reason was, you know, if it was a hot day, a lot of engines didn't have air conditioning, so you just parked underneath the overpass. However, I learned I was parked underneath the overpass in Benicia out in the Bay Area. And I go, I am not parking underneath overpasses anymore. With earthquakes out there, I go, what's the first thing that's going to happen? That overpass is going to come crashing down and just crush my engine. So I stopped doing that. On the valley, I did. Like Sacramento, I did. Wasn't too worried about Bay Area, but that's just a side note. So yeah, you got to make a safety stop. About 2 car lengths. We're a little less here, but that's good as long as you make a safety stop. That way the conductor can get off and he'll just walk back and then tell the engineer, yeah, come on back, you know, about a car and a half here, a car and a half. We're going to go to a hook here, and I'll tell you why we're going to go to a hook. I'm going to shove this box car back a little bit. Yeah, about 10 feet there, and that'll do. So he just kind of puts the air to it, and then we'll shove it on back. And the reason we're going to do that is because auto racks, you always want to keep the darn drawbar straight. You know, if you're on any bit of a curve, oh my gosh, it's just a pain in the ass to have to couple up. So shove back a little bit, make sure everything's nice and straight. That way when they pick these cars up, we're all good. Okay, here's a rule that you guys probably are not aware of. You know, it's a railroad rule. Hey, anybody that worked for the railroad is familiar with this rule, but this is where we're at here. I don't know if anybody cares to guess as far as what kind of problem we have here and how to handle this, but because we're in the control point, initially we had authority with that yellow signal, that approach signal. That was the dispatcher giving us authority to go into the next block. So we took that authority, we used it, but as soon as we pulled out or backed up past this signal, we just lost our authority. So now we have to call the dispatcher and get his or her authority to make a southward move here on the number 1 track because we lost our authority. So call up the dispatcher, you know, say we'd like authority to make a southward move here at control point CP30 here at Fruitvale. So I call up the dispatcher and they give you authority to make the move. So Another crazy thing. So, got our authority and we'll go ahead and pull on up here. Okay, so we're pulling up here, made our cut. Get going here. There we go. So we're good. We're good to go back into that block again. Working with the dispatcher. Working by the rules. This is how it goes. Takes time. You think, oh yeah, no, a little train layout, oh yeah, just make a simple little setup, but you can see all the rules that are involved in this. So again, we've got to completely clear the control point. Of course, we'll clear the crossing. It's always nice when you have a road crossing that's in a control point. It helps a lot. Let's just put it that way. So we'll clear the signal here and we'll do the same thing. We're going to pull past it a couple car lengths so we can see the darn thing. And that'll do. So now we sit and wait again. Dispatcher knows what we're doing, so we just wait for the dispatcher to throw that switch and give us a signal. So in this particular case, the dispatcher is able to give us a signal. And of course, it's restricting because our train's occupying the next block. A lot of times the dispatcher can't, you know, the signal system isn't set up to where they can give restricting, so they'd have to talk you by the signal because that's their signal, so you just get talked by it. Okay, so same thing, you know, conductor's going to tell the engineer, say, hey, you know, 3 to a crossing, so you just kind of go easy, because sometimes the crossing lights, they don't activate right away, and there's another rule regarding that, so and they'll say, okay, crossing's clear, but you couldn't exceed more than 5, I think it was 5 miles an hour until those darn things went off, if I'm correct on that one. I think that's pretty much it. So conductor's going to say, hey, about 2.5 to a hook. But again, you know, he's got to stop. I'll tell him to stop. You got to make another safety stop. And a couple car lengths back. Conductor gets off, and then he walks back. He usually just walks back to that. He'll walk back to that wheel box car there. Say, hey, come on back, about a car and a half to a hook, and you just come on back. You're on back. Right 10 minutes into this, you know, just making a simple little set out, and about 10 feet to a hook there. Conductor go, hey, stretch it. So you give it a little stretch, and it'll kind of tug pretty hard, and then I'll say red zone airtime. He gets in between the car, he makes the air, which means he connects those air hoses, and then opens up the ankle cock slowly. You always open up the ankle cock slowly, otherwise you'll plug the train. And then he goes back and he knocks off the 3 handbrakes on these cars, and then he walks up to the head end. And honestly, a better move would have been to make the cut a little further back so we're not blocking the crossing. That probably would have been a better move, but he doesn't have to walk up very far, so he's only going to walk up, what, 10 cars or something like that, hop on and he's ready to take off. So what I would do here is, since I kind of gave up my authority with that approach signal, I'm just going to go restricted speed up until I get the next signal. And of course, we kind of know, we figure, well, it's probably going to be red since it was originally a yellow signal. So we take off. And that's kind of how that all works as far as working with the control point, working with the dispatcher, and staying out of trouble. I hope you guys found that kind of interesting. Like I said, I just figured I'd share that with you guys, and there wasn't much action, but that's all the stuff you got to go through. And another thing you got to do is before the engineer takes off, he's got to make a set and release. You know, he pumps up the air for those cars, and then he's got to make a 20-pound set just to make sure. God, I forget how many pounds. That telly's got to go down, but you just want to make sure you got continuity where nobody's screwed with air hoses or anything like that. To the rear end of the telly there. Well, appreciate you guys watching, and again, you know, the rule is 400 feet. You got to stop behind that red signal, but appreciate you guys watching. Let's get real. I figure I'd just share this. Waiting for lunchtime. So anyways, David, bye-bye. Signing out.